There are places in this world where darkness doesn't just linger, it festers. Places so saturated with pain and fear that even time seems afraid to pass through. Just 2 miles south of Venice, one of the most visited cities on Earth, lies a forgotten island. It's not listed in guidebooks. It has no hotels, no tours, no tourists. It's off limits, patrolled, watched, and yet, it has drawn the attention of psychics, historians, exorcists, and even billionaires. This is not folklore, it's not a campfire story. This is real. This is Poveglia, a cursed island built on human ash. An island so haunted, it was legally declared off limits, not for safety, but for sanity. Welcome to the Untold Archive. And tonight, we're going to uncover the true horror of Poveglia, where the dead outnumber the living by the tens of thousands. Wave. From a distance, Poveglia looks like paradise. A lush green island floating in the Venetian lagoon, framed by aquamarine waters and golden sun. But beauty can lie. The island's first recorded mention was in 421 AD, settled by Roman refugees fleeing barbarian invasions. It grew quietly, rich with vineyards and villas. But it would not stay peaceful for long. In 1348, the Black Death arrived in Venice. With no understanding of germs or medicine, the Republic was desperate to contain it. So they turned to isolation. And Poveglia became the Plague Island. Those suspected of infection, men, women, children, were dragged from their homes and shipped to Poveglia. Some were sick, others were healthy, none returned. There were no treatments, no cures, just a grim ritual. Bodies stacked in piles, burned in open pits. Eyewitnesses from the mainland described the sky black with smoke, the air thick with the stench of charred flesh. Some say plague victims were thrown into the flames while still breathing, crying out in agony, only to be silenced by fire. The screams carried across the lagoon, and the name, Poveglia, became a whisper, a warning, a graveyard, not just of bodies, but of mercy. But fate was not finished with Poveglia. In the 1630s, another wave of the plague returned, more aggressive, more contagious. The Venetian council reinstated the quarantine protocol, and once again, the island was reopened as a death camp. Entire ships were intercepted, crews, passengers, infected or not, were offloaded and sent to the island. Doctors refused to enter. Families were ripped apart. One merchant wrote in his journal, "I saw them take my wife, coughing once, though she swore she was well. I never saw her again. I still hear her voice in my dreams." The bodies piled higher. The fires burned hotter. The ground itself was blackened and cracked. By the end of the epidemic, it's estimated that over 160,000 people had died on Poveglia. So many bodies were incinerated that the soil today is over 50% human ash. Archaeologists say it's one of the largest mass graves in Europe, possibly the world. Bones still surface after storms. Fishermen avoid the area not because of myth, but because human remains get caught in their nets. But horror has layers, and what happened next on Poveglia was no longer about disease. It was about madness. In 1922, a psychiatric hospital was quietly opened on the island. No press, no public record, just stone walls, locked doors, and screaming patients. They reported voices, figures in the dark, a woman with hollow eyes watching them from the ceiling, a man with no face walking through locked doors. The doctors dismissed it, but the staff began to break down. One nurse disappeared, last seen entering the old plague crypt. Her body was never found. But it was one man who would go down in infamy, a lead physician whose name was erased from official records. He was obsessed with experimentation. He performed unauthorized lobotomies using chisels, hammers, and crude drills. Often with no anesthesia, patients were said to scream for hours, before going silent forever. But something changed in the doctor. He began seeing things, too. Hearing whispers. He wrote in his journal, "The dead are not silent. They gather by the well. They wait for me." And then, one night, he climbed the tower. The bell tower was a relic, once used to signal plague ships. That night, it echoed once more. Witnesses heard screaming, some say laughter, others, a struggle, then silence. The doctor was found on the ground below. His body shattered. Officially, he jumped, but a surviving nurse swore he was pushed by invisible hands. The bell rang by itself for years afterward, even after it was removed. The asylum was shut down, and Poveglia was abandoned again. But the island was never truly quiet. From the 1960s onward, the island was declared illegal to enter. Not just to preserve history, but to protect people. But the curious still came. Ghost hunters, urban explorers, skeptics. What they found changed them. Videos captured unseen voices, calling out names that no one present recognized. Full-spectrum cameras revealed figures darting between doorways. A heavy wooden door slammed on its own in a sealed room. One team reported being followed by footsteps for hours, but saw no one. Another left early after one member was covered in scratches, fresh, red, and bleeding. Even priests who visited for exorcisms refused to return. The locals? They speak of a black mist that moves through the trees. Fishermen avoid the island not just because of stories, but because something watches them from the shore. One sailor swore he saw eyes glowing from the chapel ruins, blinking, then gone. Locals believe the island is not just haunted. They say it is awake. In 2014, Italy tried to auction the island. A wealthy businessman placed the winning bid. He had plans: a luxury resort, a private yacht club, a 5-star escape for the elite. But when he visited the island with his daughter, they lasted one night. She was hospitalized the next morning. The official reason? Unexplained trauma. Footage from the visit was never released. Workers refused to return. Permits were revoked. And the billionaire? He went silent. Since then, no one has dared try again. Italy re-sealed Poveglia. It remains monitored by drone and coast guard. Some say, the island rejects the living and welcomes only the dead. Poveglia is not a ghost story. It's a scar, a place where history bled and never stopped bleeding. Underneath its grass lie thousands of souls, forgotten, burned, silenced. And above it, only silence and watching eyes. It's a graveyard, a prison, a memory that refuses to die. Would you set foot there, even for a moment? Or do you believe that some places truly should remain sealed forever? Let us know what you think. Comment your theories, and if you crave more horrifying truths from history, like, subscribe, hit the bell. This is the Untold Archive, and we'll see you in the next chapter.